That's for you.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Retirement for Wednesday, the 7th of January in 2026.
The roll real quickly.
Hmm?
Do you want me to do the roll first? And
Yeah,
we can start.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Robbins. This meeting is being conducted as a virtual and in-person meeting. So I could do a roll call of the trustees to confirm attendance. Ms. Ginsburg? Mr. Razzo?
Present.
Ms. Langton?
Here.
Mr. Root?
Present.
Ms. Fessler?
Present.
Mr. Pantoja?
Here.
Mr. Green? Mr. Kehoe? Mr. Robbins?
Here.
Mr. Harris?
Here.
And Mr. Moore?
Here.
Okay, trustees, please use your raise your hand option to be placed in the queue. At this time, we ask all meeting participants to mute your mic. You're ready to speak. And now we proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much. Start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. David, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Everybody stand, to the right hand of your heart, ready to begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Item 3, we just have Mr. Moore for,
Yes, due to critical conditions, so he will be participating under SB 707.
item 4 is ratification of officers. We're going to need a motion for the incoming 3 officers. Mr. Harris is board chair. Who's vice? Mr. Moore is vice chair? And I am going to be secretary. So need a motion. I'll move it.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg?
Yes.
Mr. Razzo?
Aye.
Ms. Langton?
Aye.
Ms. Fessler?
Aye.
Mr. Green? Mr. Moore? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Root?
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja?
Yes.
And Mr. Robbins?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
We now have to do an election for the JOGC member from the Board of Retirement. So are there any nominations for the Retirement Board JOGC member?
I'll nominate Les Robbins.
Any other nominations?
No motion
Nominations are
necessary.
closed.
No motion necessary.
We don't need to vote. So, well, I guess we do need to vote, don't
No,
we? No?
Since we don't have
Okay.
any other.
Do you want us to do the multiple nominees for? Okay, we have 3, we need to nominate 3 people for the next committee. So
I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that we appoint trustee Fessler, trustee Kehoe, and trustee Goldberg to the Acre Committee.
So there.
Wait, did you say Ginsburg?
Yes, I did.
Oh, Ginsburg is already on there. We
Oh.
need one more.
Oh, okay.
I'll be happy to.
You're on.
Okay,
Always
so
looking for volunteer.
Ms. Fessler, Mr. Kehoe, and Ms. Langton will be
Langton.
appointed to the Acre Committee.
Okay. So I guess there's been a shift in power here. So thank you very much, Mr. Robbins. I want to thank you for your service as chair the last year. I know it's a big job and you've done it with great aplomb. So thank you for all that. And I'm glad you're still sitting next to me. This is good. So approval of minutes, need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay. Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton,
Aye.
Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Aye.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja. Okay, and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
Very good. Thank you. Next is public comment. I have not received any requests for public comment, and I see no one in the audience indicating they wish to speak. We'll move on to item number 8, executive update. LACERA All Stars, Mr. Pavlovich.
Thank you very much, Chair Harris. And so each month we take a moment to recognize LACERA staff who have been nominated by their fellow staff members for going above and beyond the call of duty to help members and each other. And this month we recognize the folks that you'll see on your screen: George Lund, Irma Ornelas, Richard Bendel, Winona Myers, and our rideshare participant is Maria Cervantes. Thank you guys very much for everything that you do for LACERA. We appreciate you. And if you're here, you should stand up. So thank you.
For standing up, yeah. Pretty hard to miss, Mr. Bendel. Awards, JJ.
Annually, we recognize our employee council team for their efforts throughout the year. ECT is a group of staff members that are all volunteers. They come together to collaborate, to hold events throughout the year that help support our organizational culture. This year, they were instrumental in our response to the fires. They held ice cream socials, the annual picnic for the staff, conducted various charitable events, like back to school drives, and a very successful Adopt a Family drive at the end of the year. They adopted 2 families this year. They collected over hundreds of gifts, literally hundreds of gifts for these families. It's very heartwarming. They actually brought the families, they come in, and they actually had some of the gifts were under the tree, and they did the whole ceremony. They're just truly a wonderful group of staff members, and they really add to our culture here at LACERA. And so with that, I'm going to go step over here for a moment and call them up, and then we'll do some certificates and take a picture if you don't mind. Okay, so as I call your name, please come up. Araceli Gamboa. Might have to get a quick picture later.
Yeah. They're supposed to be in that.
Alex Ochoa.
We do it later. Yes, I have to.
Alex. Appreciate you. Carla Quesada. It's all volunteer. They take their own time. They work very hard to do this. Nuchik Galbushian. Today. Next up is Laura Magalis. There she is. Sorry, I apologize. I'll practice that. I have to keep doing that in honor of Rob Hill. Oh, no, come on. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, a few more. We're almost done. Selena Gonzalez. Not here. All right, we're getting there. Lisa Giovanna. Giovanna? Sorry, Lisa. And then last but not least, this should be Kenneth Rios, who was our president for this year. Very much. So with that, get together and take a picture. You can get the photographer here, but we'll get together and take a picture. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say on behalf of the board to thank you. I know The volunteers sometimes get forgotten. I know I do a lot of volunteering outside of this organization, other things. And I really appreciate, and I know the whole board does, everything you do, because I know you don't have to do this. And the fact that you do is deeply appreciated because you do make a huge, huge difference. So thank you very much. That brings us to member spotlight.
Yes, thank you very much. So member spotlight, that's a way for LACERA to recognize the public servants that care for the constituents of Los Angeles County. It's also an opportunity for all of us to reflect on why we do what we do as we serve our members and empower them to enjoy a healthy and secure retirement. And so this month, we are recognizing Ariel Vasquez, who is a program specialist 4 with the CEO's office of the Board of Supervisors. He is on loan to the Sheriff's Department, where he handles their workplace violence authority unit. And he manages about 2,500 workplace violence cases a year, which is quite a big number. He will be retiring after 40 years of service. And he's proudest of the path that he's taken in his career and how he's grown over the years, and that he's the only civilian in his unit. And he's looking forward to doing some traveling. And most importantly, he's going to be watching a lot of the Dodgers, Lakers, and Rams games. So,
All right.
guy after my own heart. So thank you very much, Mr. Vasquez, for everything that you've done for the county, and we wish you the best in your retirement.
Absolutely. And now we come to the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Yes, good morning, Chair Harris. Congratulations to those that are going to be transitioning to new committees. Looking forward to an exciting 2026. Hopefully it's a great start to the year for all of you. A few items on the CEO report that we want to highlight. First, just in terms of by the numbers in 2025, as we continue our journey to improve the member experience, I wanted to highlight a few things. And one in particular is this $4.85 billion number that as of December 29th that we've issued out to our membership, over 70,000 retirees, survivors, and beneficiaries that rely and have LACERA as their financial security into retirement. So we want to highlight that number because for two reasons. One, we talk about the work that the benefits team and the member service team does in getting people to sign up and complete their retirement application, but also the maintenance that goes with that and ensuring that, you know, we talk about doing the right thing, right person, right time, right amount in terms of benefit payments. And, you know, so that's a significant number for us as it relates to $4.85 billion paid out annually from the fund. Secondly, when we talk about the impact, the economic impact that has to the local economy here in LA County, the last economic impact study that we did, we highlighted that about 70% of our retirees still call LA County home. So this is a significant economic impact that our retirees have on the local economy here in LA. And then lastly, I know that provides some heartburn to our Chief Investment Officer, John Grable, because 70 cents of every dollar comes from investment earnings. And as we continue to increase the amount of benefits that we pay out, that ensures that we have a stabilized portfolio that is there to support those benefits. So again, it's important to highlight that. And there's other numbers on here that I won't go into, but again, it all rolls into making sure that we're meeting our members where they're at as it relates to their, you know, benefit counseling or journey around future retirement. So next slide, please. Want to welcome, there's a new person on the dais. So I want to welcome Trustee Ernesto Pantoja to the Board of Retirement. Today's his first day. I know he's been busy with orientation. Appreciate the efforts of Linda and some of the team members in getting Mr. Trustee Pantoja acclimated to LACERA. It's, as some of your colleagues on the dais will say, it's like drinking from a fire hose, but I'm sure you'll be just fine. But again, look forward to working with you and others on the board. So welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome.
And then we want to highlight on the, lost my spot there. Okay, want to highlight, we will have a social media presentation. So there's a couple of operational updates that we'll have at the Operations Oversight Committee. Highly recommend those staying. I know we have a packed agenda, but we have our operations briefing, our quarterly strategic planning report, and then we also have a social media update, all presentations for the OOC. So highly recommend the trustees to stay for OOC to get an update on what's going on operationally. And then we want to commend and highlight our Chief Investment Officer, John Grable, being named 2026 Elite Institutional CIOs list for Market Group. It's a distinction honoring global leaders in institutional investment strategies. So certainly want to commend John Grable as well as his collective team, because I know he'll highlight that as well. So congratulations, John.
Yes.
Yep, and then next slide, please. The annual, want to also highlight the annual comprehensive financial report that we issue out annually. That's a document, one of the more important documents that LACERA publishes, and it's a collaborative effort with FASD, investments and communications, as well as systems, working on that annual comprehensive financial report. So appreciate the efforts of the collective team, Mr. Granger, our CFO, as well as his team, and putting that together in collaboration with, again, investment systems and the communication team. So appreciate the efforts there. And then for retiree healthcare, I know we had an update at the IBLC. We do have our renewal meetings happening next week on the 15th with all of our healthcare carriers. So more information will be forthcoming. I'm sure there's going to be discussions on the ACA as it relates to the impact to those respective healthcare carriers, whether it be Kaiser, Anthem. So we'll be providing an update to the board in February in terms of those negotiation meetings. And then lastly, if we can go to the hiring update, just want to point out some of our promotions, our recruitments that are underway. Do want to highlight a systems IT manager appointment or promotion, I should say. No, excuse me, a new onboard. And I'll give it to Kathy to introduce the new IT manager to the team. So Kathy.
Thank you, Louis. Good morning. So we do have a new hire in systems. We're very excited about it. He's been hired as an IT manager too, and he's in charge of the project management office, the PMO, as we like to call it. His name is Joe Schwan, and I'm going to turn it over to him and let him talk a little bit about himself.
Good morning. My name is Joe Schwan. This is my second month here at LACERA. However, I am starting my 20th year of county service, having been at 2 other large county departments, also leading PM offices and other IT disciplines. So I've certainly benefited from the work of the LACERA staff and obviously the leadership of this board. So I'm very pleased to be here, to be part of the team and to contribute. Thank you.
Board, Joe. And then again, I want to acknowledge the promotions, excuse me. We have Serena Davis promoted to Accounting 2 in FASD, as well as Kwok Nguyen promoted to Senior Investment Officer in the Investments Division. So certainly congratulations on those promotions. And then we're, again, continuing to make progress on some of the critical vacancies that we have at LACERA. With that, Trustee or Chair Harris, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Get off easy. Thank you. Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 9, disability retirement applications on the consent calendar. I'm looking for a motion to approve item 802E through 825E.
Second.
Was a second? I'm sorry, I just heard 2 seconds. Okay, Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton, Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore,
Aye.
thank you, Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
And now I'm looking for a motion to adopt the recommendations for numbers 1029C through 1040C.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton, Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Ruth,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
I'm looking for a motion to adopt the recommendations for 2054 D as in David through 2073 D as in David.
Second.
Ms. Ginsburg,
Yes.
Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton, Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Ruth,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously.
And finally, need a motion to adopt the recommendations for 5420 and 5421.
Ms. Ginsburg, Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton, Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Ruth,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
That brings us to item 10, consent items. I need a motion and a second to adopt the items A, B, and C.
May I ask a question or make a comment
Yes,
before we
please.
proceed? I don't have any objection, but with respect to item C, I noticed that, if I can get to it here, I highlighted it. So this threshold was set back in 2000, I don't have my glasses on, 2015 or something like that. It's been a long time. I wondered if it made sense for someone to review the threshold and determine whether it should be increased. The staff is making reports on what we, back in 2015, thought was an appropriate level.
Mhm.
It seems like a lot of busy work now that maybe should be reduced if that threshold were reviewed. So I would recommend or suggest that somebody look into that to see whether that makes sense to bring that back.
Mr. Boyd, do you have something to say about that?
I think I would agree with that statement, because it does require a little extra work.
Yeah.
If we needed a resolution from the board, we can maybe put it on the agenda for one of the upcoming meetings,
Okay,
maybe even next month, if not the month after.
Items for staff
Great.
review.
thanks.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Ginsburg, Mr. Razzo,
Aye.
Ms. Langton, Ms. Fessler,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Aye.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Ruth,
Yes.
Mr. Pantoja,
Yes.
and Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously.
And there are no excluded from consent items. That's number 11, brings us to 12. We have a presentation.
Mr. Chair.
Disability Retirement Services.
Quickly, do we have to make that motion for what trustee Fessler talked about?
I think what he said was they will bring it back and put on the agenda
I think,
for our consideration.
do we have to make a motion to put
It's
on the
a-
agenda?
No,
Or
it's an item for future.
Oh,
Not
okay.
for staff review. Yeah, no, we'll make sure that it's on there. Thank you. You got to keep me honest here, so that's good. Thank you. Ms. Samwell.
Great.
We can see you.
All right.
All right.
Chair Harris, congratulations.
Thank you.
Trustees, I'm happy to be here in front of you. It's been a while before Disability Retirement Services has had an opportunity to come and chat with you about our cases, our process, our inventory, and things like that. I know that the board had expressed some concerns regarding our aging cases and our increase in processing time. I think every month we come to you and we report out that our average processing time is about 16 months. We definitely acknowledge that we do have some age cases, and we definitely want to make a concerted effort to tackle those cases. So today's presentation is really kind of setting the groundwork for that, and really kind of wanting to give you some insight into our process, into the inventory itself, into why we have some age cases, what we've been doing to try to minimize the growth of those age cases, as well as what we plan to do in the future to reverse the trend of aging cases. So that's what today's presentation is about. And so I will begin. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. In the forefront, disability really exists to conduct thorough investigations into disability retirement applications. to ensure timely and equitable outcomes that align with LACERA's mission, vision, and IAC values. We're committed to accountability and ownership of improvement in the process. You know, we want to own our results. We recognize that we've had an increase in application processing times. We take full responsibility for that, and we're committed to reversing the trend. I think the rest of this year, as well as into the future, our team, our partners in disability legal, we're actively exploring and implementing targeted strategies to streamline our workflows, optimize our resources, and accelerate case processing. Each one of my staff members on my team from top to bottom is dedicated to that. We're soliciting ideas from my leadership team, our specialists, as well as even our support staff in how we can tackle this group of aging cases and get them out the door and really start improving our workflow and how we process cases. There's always room for improvement, and my team is dedicated to that. Today's discussion obviously is a dialogue, as I mentioned earlier, to deepen your understanding about our process and dive really into operational improvements. Our goal is not only to address our challenges, but also like to lay a groundwork for future conversations and ongoing progress. Next slide, please. I kind of want to take you down memory lane, I guess, to give you some insight into, you know, how some numbers and totals as to how we have applications coming in and applications going out. I've given you about 5 fiscal year history of the number of applications that we receive compared to the numbers that we've been able to process. Starting in fiscal year 2019, you can see we were at about 541 in terms of incoming applications. And at that point, we actually knew as a division that we were going to start seeing some increases in the applications coming in. I'll talk to you guys a little bit later about what some of those driving factors were. But here I kind of just want to focus on the fact that from 2019 up until present, we really have seen an increase in applications. But I also want to point out that my staff has been fairly consistent in terms of production. Through a lot of diversity, I'd like to say, COVID, we actually went from being 100% paper dominant to becoming electronic, and that was during COVID, which I think is, you know, a testament to my staff's dedication. And as you see, during COVID, our processing kind of increased. We also in 2023 launched our new SOL case management system. And so we had to train in a way of doing case management in a different system. So that was new to my entire team. And again, we were consistent in terms of processing cases. So even in the midst of an overwhelming volume of applications coming in, my team was able to at least sustain production. And during the surging years, we had some staffing shortfalls during that time as well. Although we were budgeted for, from 2019, I think all the way up to 2021, we were budgeted for about 17 specialists. During that time, we really only had about 12 to 15 specialists fully operational because we had people out on extended leave. We had a couple of people retire and things of that nature. So we had some vacancies. In 2021, again, recognizing that we were going to see an increase in applications, we came to the board through the budget process and requested additional bodies. We were given that, so we definitely thank you for that. But unfortunately, we weren't able to hire. The good news is we have finally been able to hire. September 2nd, 2025, we got our new staff members in. In fact, we hired 3 new specialists as well as 4 promotions within LACERA. We were able to promote somebody from our member services team, and we also had some internal staff, which were support staff. During the years of the increased applications, what we did is we actually looked to our support staff. We trained them through a training opportunity to process cases. So they were able to kind of come in and backfill behind some of those vacancies and support the team so we could continue to maintain production. Again, we weren't able to meet the high demand of applications that were coming in, but we were able to at least sustain production. And so I'm happy to say that from that training program, we were able to promote from within our department, and we actually promoted 3 of our folks who went through that training program. Next slide, please. So now that you kind of have an idea of where we were in terms of building and seeing the increase in applications, I'd like to kind of touch on our case management milestones. And many of you are new, so you don't have the information. So I want to kind of go back several years and talk about something that happened where DRS and the Board of Retirement collaborated. And what they did was they actually looked at our process, looked at each milestones within our process, and whiteboarded those. And from those meetings, that's where it was determined that our current 12-month processing goal, in terms of how long it should take us to process cases, that's where that was established during those. There was a specific committee that had, I think JP, you probably remember the committee, where we sat down and whiteboarded each of the different milestones and talked about how long should it really take for a case to pass through these milestones. Now, we understand there's outliers on both sides. Some cases can be processed sooner than 12 months and others might take a bit longer, but 12 months was a reasonable target that the board felt was reasonable for us to be able to process cases. So that's why we have that 12-month target established. On the slide, you can actually see the different milestones. In my memo to you, I actually broke that down a little further in terms of explaining what each category milestone meant, how long it typically will stay in that milestone. I don't know if you want to go, if you'd like me to go in depth today to kind of reiterate that.
Well, it was in the memo, unless people have specific questions, they need some clarification, but if not, no, you can go ahead and move on. I don't see anyone.
So in my memo, again, it outlines the time frame, so you kind of get an understanding of the 12-month process. Next slide, please. I kind of want to push on because I wanted to get here, because I think this is where everybody wants, where we want to land on and have a robust discussion. This slide shows pretty much what we're calling our backlogged or age cases. Backlog identifies cases that have been in our office for 12 months or longer. What you see in this chart is our first 3 milestones, which we call pre-work, which is really us getting applications in, ordering records, getting those records in, and then indexing them in preparation for a specialist to now take that case and begin their investigative process. Those stages are fairly healthy. You can see they're not really backlogged. Most of the cases in those categories have been in office anywhere from 1 day to about 3 or 4 months. We do have some backlog cases in those categories, and those are really cases where the board has maybe granted a 2-year review, and now we're bringing them back and we have to kind of start from the beginning, or cases where it was a deny without prejudice. And again, those cases have come back, or cases where we've kind of had to redevelop because we've recognized that a member has applied for, let's say, an orthopedic condition. We took that through the process. They didn't get it. The findings of the doctors were unsatisfactory, and then they had some other secondary conditions that we are now developing as part of the case. And that happens often where you have an ortho, maybe the member did not get it or it came back as a non-service, but then we had some internal conditions that we could now move to and develop to see if they were able to get an SCD. So those are some of the things that you might see in terms of, and we continue to maintain that original application date. So that's why they're considered aging, and it looks like they've been in the office for 12 months or more. I think what you also see here, though, is there is a high concentration of cases in the interview and report writing stages. And we certainly acknowledge that. And I think that that definitely is a byproduct of the fact that we did not have the staff when we were seeing increased volumes. And so, you know, when I think about this, I kind of equate it to a grocery store line. You know, 2 or 3 cashiers in the early morning, but then as the day progresses, more customers come in. And as the customers hit the queue, you start getting a larger queue. And if the manager does not open up additional registers, the queue gets larger. And I think that that's really kind of what happened here when we weren't able to bring in the additional bodies when we knew that we were going to see an increase in applications. Now that I have a full complement of staff, I think, and we're looking to tackle these aging cases and get those cases to you for adjudication. And I think this chart actually demonstrates that, because as you can see with cases that are at medical review, post-medical review, board prep, QA, and again on the agenda, these are cases that have aged, but they're in the latter stages and hopefully are going to be coming to you so you can adjudicate those cases and we can get them off the books.
May I make a comment? With respect to the cases in the healthy stage that are the very tiny little things at the top that are older
Yes.
aged, you said that there were a lot of those that they're not really aged cases. They've been in the system a long time, but it has nothing to do with a processing delay or anything like that. It is because of something specific with regard to the case. It's been re-reviewed or the applicant has submitted something. I would suggest that you think about coming up with almost like a separate category for those, because right now they're influencing and impacting what looks like a processing problem, but it really isn't anything that has, it's not reflective of any of the other concerns that you've raised. And so it skews the numbers a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think once we progress a little bit down into the presentation, you'll see that that's something that me and my leadership have been talking about. Okay. That, that every case is not the same. And so we might need a little bit more granularity in terms of identifying our cases, so we can come back and share that with you so you can have an understanding of, hey, we have this little population here. These are not just sitting around. These are cases that have to kind of be reinvestigated, so to speak. So thank you very much. And that's definitely something we're considering. Yeah. So again, we're making a concerted effort to those aging cases that are in the interview and report writing process. We're making a concerted effort to address those cases now that we have our new staff. So one of the ways that we've done that is the new staff are getting some of those aging cases as they train. And I'm happy to actually report the staff started on September 2nd. They did a 30-day training and they have actually all produced at least one case to your board. So I think we've been able to get them up and running. They have not touched all of the different types of cases, but we're slowly introducing those cases to them over this year training that we do have. So the first quarter, we begin with the initial onset of a training. And then as we progress through the first quarter, they were given some of our more straightforward cases, like our safety cases with one injury. And that's how we start to build their understanding of our process. The second quarter, they're going to start getting other types of cases, more general cases, maybe a case where it's an internal medical condition. And we're going to continue to build on their skills and knowledge of our process. And by the end of their training, they will have touched all the different types of cases that we see. And ultimately, the following year, now they're going to be expected to process a full caseload and adhere to our target number of having 36 cases to the board annually. That's our current goal. I'll talk a little bit later on about goal setting and things of that nature, but after the first year, I feel very confident that our new folks will come in and help us tackle these backlogs. And the focus for them is to continue to give them aging cases. So they're not getting new cases, they're getting our aging cases so we can get those out the door. And this is a proven method because this is not a new scenario for us. We have had situations where we have seen backlogs in past history, and this is approach that we've used before. Next slide, please. This is just really the numbers, which kind of coincide with the chart. So I figured if you're not a chart person, you might be a numbers person. So here you are. Next slide, please. So I said that earlier that I was going to talk a little bit about some of the factors that drove the increase in applications and ultimately resulted in the longer processing times. So I'll kind of start with some of the external process impacts. So probably around 2021, the county started implementing a new framework. And it was really targeted at making sure that all of their county departments were adhering to the return to work type standards that the county had set. And it really was focusing on looking through all of their folks who were out on leave, who were being accommodated, to really see if, number one, the folks who were out on leave did they have interactive process meetings to discuss any work restrictions that were on file? For folks who were being accommodated, were they being accommodated appropriately? And what the county found was, no, they were not. There was a lot of folks who were out on leave and there had been no discussion with them, and they were just allowed to be out on leave for a long period of time. There were a lot of informal and invalid accommodations where people were just, we'll let you keep working, but you're not doing your full complement of duties. And so the county actually started having their departments enforce procedures, which then led to us having more applications coming into for processing, because permanent work restriction had been issued. When they started looking at it, the county or department discovered we can't accommodate this. And so those applications came to us. And so we saw an increase in our employer applications and just applications in general with this new framework. And today the county is continuing to make sure that they're monitoring their return to work programs to ensure that folks who can no longer be accommodated, that they are in fact applying for disability retirement. And so that is really one of the issues that kind of drives the number of applications that we have. The pandemic, although we're 5 years away from that, that did have an impact during COVID, because some folks chose, you know what, I'm just gonna retire. And some of those folks had injuries. PEPRA, Plan G, before we had Plan E, which Plan E, you're not eligible for disability retirement. So some of the people who were coming in, they were funneled off into this plan where they weren't going to apply. Well, now that Plan E is a closed plan and everyone who comes into the county is in a contributory plan, well, now they can apply. And so now some years later, we are seeing that population applying. And I looked at the numbers, and probably 9% of our current inventory is Plan G members. So we are seeing those filers. We're also noticing that we're getting people filing younger. And that does have an impact on our processing time as well, because sometimes we have folks who are in no pay status. They're young, they can't retire. So sometimes we have to shuffle cases around to try to help those folks, because if we don't process those applications quickly, people are losing their homes, they have no income. And so some of the folks, like some of our safety folks, where this is a tax benefit, sometimes we do try to assist some of our members who are struggling and being in no pay status. So we juggle our cases around and redistribute to be able to make sure that those people are taken care of. Our cases are a little bit more complex than they were 5 years, 10 years ago. For example, now we contend with situations with felony forfeitures, termination for cause cases. We're also seeing more and more people, and I think this is a good thing, who are applying for salary supplements. And that particular benefit is a benefit that allows members to remain in county service, although they've been injured. It's a great benefit, but that one adds a little bit more time, because we are coordinating with the county, because the county has to coordinate with the member to locate a position that is compatible with any work restrictions they have, to ensure that they're able to do this job that they will do as part of the salary supplement. So those cases tend to take a little bit longer because of some of the wait times in locating those jobs. So those are some of the, I think, external process impacts that drove some of the rising applications and maybe longer processing times. We've talked a little bit about some of the staffing challenges that we've had in terms of deferred recruitment, extended leaves, retirements, and things like that impact us. And then, of course, we also have our internal process itself. It's comprehensive, it's multi-step, and it can be a lengthy process. And so one of the other areas too is really a static case production goal. during the years that we saw the increase in applications, our goal in terms of the number of cases each of our specialists was to process annually, it actually remained the same. We didn't make adjustments during those years. And so now we're looking at making sure that we are looking at how many applications are we getting in and determining whether or not we need to adjust goals, you know, in step with increase in application. So we're not going to let our production goals remain static. We're going to continue to look at that. And as we increase apps, we may have to increase production numbers as well. Next slide. So again, here's where we started clearing bottlenecks and some of the things that we're doing to build momentum towards improving processing times. I pulled a couple of folks out of production and dedicated them to processing our age cases. They're still doing that today, right alongside our new staff. I mentioned earlier, we've increased our production. It went from 32, now we're at 36, and most likely next year I will increase it again to ensure that we are meeting the demands. And again, I've talked about the onboarding of the new specialists. The other thing that I wanted to bring up here is that we're also leveraging our new case management system. I haven't been in front of the board, so we hadn't really been able to talk about the fact that SOL has made some of our process a little bit easier. And really where we're seeing the impact is that we have more visibility into our case inventory. I can go in and pull a report and tell you how many cases are in certain milestones. I can pull information to be able to calculate, well, how long, what's the average number of cases, how long have they been there in each milestone. So we're getting a little bit of more robust reporting, which then will allow us to improve our oversight. And so we're trying to now leverage SOL in a way that we really haven't been able to leverage any of our prior case management systems. This system gives us a little more insight into our inventory. And we're leveraging that to make sure that we're able to identify bottlenecks faster so we can work a little bit more efficiently. And as you'll see later on, I'm going to share with you that we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit more than what we have. As I mentioned, I don't think we've been here in front of the board talking for about 5 years, and that's a long time. And so I think, you know, we want to make a concerted effort that we come to you and report and let you know some of the things that we're working on, how successful they are, and also bringing you some information on some things that we're going to be implementing in the future. Next slide. And some of those things are here. And one of the things that we're going to start with is our priority-based casework. Again, in the memo I provided you, I gave you a little bit of an outline of what our priority system looks like. We're going to revamp that a little bit. And to your point, Trustee Fessler, look at how we're categorizing cases and categorize them in a little bit more granular rather than lumping them all together, because all cases are definitely not created equal. We're also, myself, my leadership team, and our legal are looking at a pilot program to help accelerate cases. I hinted at some of that in my memo. I won't go into it too much today. We'll be coming back and really having a focused discussion about that in the future. But I think this is one way that I believe we may be able to accelerate some of our processing. And really what we want to do here is some of our cases that have very solid medical or substantial medical evidence that supports permanent incapacity and causation. Is there a way that we might be able to come to you with a recommendation based on that fact versus having to send those cases out for an independent medical evaluation? So that's one of the things that we're looking at, but I want to make sure that legal has looked at that process and make sure that we are in compliance with LACERA, of course. And so we will be coming back with further discussions about that and how that's working. Another thing that I didn't mention earlier is automation. We will be starting later in January on a project to bring automation to our indexing process. You did see, and I mentioned that it was a milestone that was operating healthily, but it is very time consuming and laborious to index. You know, I was just talking to one of my supervisors earlier, and she just shared with me that one of her team members just went through a file that was over 15,000 pages. And to go through that file and pull out all of the relevant medical information that we use for our cases, having people do that can be time consuming, especially when you have over 900 cases in your inventory. So we will be starting our project this month where we will be consulting with vendors that will be able to bring in an AI product that will be able to help us with our indexing. We know that's out there because we did an RFP earlier this year to really test the market to see what was available. And we know there are companies that do it. And so we're going to try to bring that in to help facilitate and speed up that indexing process. And I think I would be remiss if I didn't speak a little bit about the risks that are associated with trying to accelerate an investigative process like ours. That is not to say that we cannot do it, but I want us to be very aware that, you know, we want to take a balanced approach in doing that without compromising the integrity of the investigative process. Some of the risks that, you know, can be considered is an incomplete evidence review. So we want to make sure that we have safeguards in place when we are accelerating some of these cases to ensure if when we review it, can it really go through this accelerated process? And if not, we'll pull it back and send it for an IME. There's also another guardrail would be if we presented it to you and you felt this should not be fast tracked. You can always kick it back and we can always go to the IME. So we want to make sure that we're aware of any risks that might pop up as a part of trying to accelerate an investigative process. You know, we want to make sure that we don't have any exposure to any kind of increased risk of appeals or litigation because we're trying to accelerate a process. We want to make sure that our members trust us. We don't want to have a perception of shortcuts that might erode their confidence and trust. So these are all things that we are definitely aware of. And the idea is to take a balanced approach to accelerating to ensure that we have strong safeguards, as I mentioned, clear criteria for identifying cases that can be eligible for this expedited process. We want to have quality checks throughout the entire process. We'll have ongoing training with our staff. And again, we're always committed to process improvement, but speed will never come at the expense of accuracy or fairness. And as I come to a close, the other thing that I want to bring back to this board is board education. In the past, we've brought in guest speakers from a variety of medical fields that talk to you about the different medical conditions that people apply for, just to kind of enhance your knowledge. So we've had internists come in and talk about hypertension, diabetes, and things of that nature. And it allows you, the board, an opportunity to engage with our panel physicians and ask questions about some of the conditions that you see before you on a monthly basis. So we want to bring that back. We want to also have county departments come in and talk to you about their process. So you understand maybe, for example, department-wide searches versus a county search, how they accommodate people. So we want to have county departments come in and talk to you as well to enhance, you know, your knowledge about what's going on and the things that can impact our process. And so again, the approach of this is to keep trustees informed, strengthen decision-making, and ensure alignment with evolving operational and legal landscapes. Next slide. Next slide. And I have kind of like a little proposed training session that we're going to do going forward. And again, to continue to have engagement with your board as we move forward. And our final slide, which is our conclusion and any questions. So ultimately, we anticipate improvement. Our new staff, ongoing improvement as we continue to look at the process and address workflows. We're committed to innovation. As I mentioned, we are looking at ways that we can use AI and leverage AI to help us improve our process. And lastly, the collaboration that will be needed to have a dialogue with our team to know what your expectations are, what you'd like to see in terms of our process and things of that nature. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you very much. That was very, very informative. Looking around the horseshoe, any questions from anyone? Oh, I wish I could see that here, but I'm not. So
It's right there.
Oh, all kinds of hands up. All right, well, let's
Yeah.
go. We'll go,
A lot of high five and
we'll just take it down from here. Okay, Mr. Green.
thank you. Happy New Year. Thanks for the presentation. I know we talked about this a little bit at Sackers. And yeah, I mean, it's a real honest look at the process. And like we talked about at Sackers, I think not only focusing on the negative side of it, but the positives. And I appreciate you bringing that to light openly and publicly. Right? What do they say? Never have so few done so much for so many with so little, right? It's yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you coming forward with this. And yeah, something needs to be done. And the fact that you're onboarding and looking at this, necessity is the mother of invention. I like your priority, re-engaging, revamping the priority list. I mean, obviously that's really good, right? You're triaging it. And I think that that's going to really probably help. The pilot program, and yeah, everything you said, we're bound by Searle and we have to be accurate and we have to be consistent, and that takes time. How do we shorten that time with, right? So I like the priority list. I do have a quick question. Your pilot for the 3 months, is that from today's date or are you guys already a month into it?
We've been talking about it, so I think that, probably around April, I think we'll be able to come back with a discussion.
And then 3 months to implement it to go live. So we're looking forward in this possible. So next March Madness.
That's a conservative approach. I think
it has to be well done, right? It has to be,
right,
yeah.
especially when you're trying to really minimize the amount of work that's going into an investigation. So, I hope to come back in April and have a discussion about where we are with that. And, by then have identified cases that would fit this and things of that nature. So in April, you should expect to hear back from us.
Good. And I have some comments, if you bear with it, just looking at it. The pilot program, like I said, I like the priority list. I like the triage. Couple items. You had 2 options in there. I have a concern about, and legal can correct me, and maybe I'm just being a worrywart. But the option 1, utilizing an IME, an independent, the IME from the process of going through an industrial injury, for example. I have a concern about that because we would be reliant on somebody externally that might not have Searle in the forefront of their brain, or our process in the forefront of their brain. Their mission is different. Option 2, looking at a triaging it internally after a triage, and using our panel physicians, which are aware, in line with our mission statement and everything. That would be where I would like to see it more focused on if we do a pilot. And maybe if you guys have any comment on it.
Yeah, option 1, I had the same concerns. If you're looking at the
High
AME
five.
report, of course. Well, if you're looking at the AME report, well, they're not being asked the same 9 questions. How are we going to know? Well, causation is causation across the board. Service connection is arising out of and in the course of. So then the question is, permanent disability from work comp is not permanent incapacity from Searle. However, all AME reports, when they get to their permanent and stationary report, they issue permanent work restrictions. And we look at those permanent work restrictions and we compare them with the usual duties. And if they do not comport with, then that amounts to permanent incapacity. And you as a board sometimes will even ask us, well, hey, bring in the AME report. We want to look at what the AME said and compare it to our doctor. So that is one way to determine permanent incapacity from an AME report. The issue and the other concern I have is that not all AMEs are created equal. We're going to get one doctor, I won't name names here, who's going to do a fantastic job, and then one will be less than. And so that's where it's going to be a balance, and we want to treat all our applicants the same way. So that's where we're going to need to look at option 1 in a lot of detail, and it's probably not going to be a possibility on every case. But we are looking at safety. So you're looking at arduous class 4 duties. And if you have a doctor coming in and saying, They can't do heavy lifting, that's permanent. They can't engage with inmates, that's permanent. They can't be pulling hoses, that's permanent. We don't necessarily need to go to our IME to determine that issue of permanent incapacity.
Gotcha. No, I appreciate you expanding on that. Yet, and just maybe even folding into that pilot if it's have that AME as an automatic process. I don't know, but reliant on it, I share that concern. I would, might even be more cumbersome if we're trying to educate. And like you said, that we have to treat it. It's so imperative that everybody gets a cookie, nobody gets the chocolate chip.
Yeah, and Mr. Green, we're still exploring this, so we're still trying to work out any issues that would arise. I think to add on to what Allison said is we want to look at the raw data, the objective medical evidence that exists at the time the application is filed, and see if we can build upon that and move it along. But to say we're ready to go on option 1 or option 2, we're not there yet.
Right. And just sharing my concern with joys and sorrows as you were. But also too, the looking at the safety numbers, the 316 current applications. Yes, Allison, as you said, arduous for classification, but I would wonder, as a true litmus test, as a true beta, wouldn't it be prudent to take a slice from every plan,
I agree.
Yes.
It'd be class. I think we haven't really flushed everything out, but at class 4 across the board. So there are plumbers out there.
Exactly.
There's heavy duty workers who are general members that I would like to see it be treated as evenly as the safety members.
Yeah, and also maybe our class 2. I mean, I know, but on occasion there is those unique cases that are really hard to chew on. I mean, I'm talking about my own personal struggle and evaluation of a potential service-connected disability. I do think it would be prudent to throw a couple of those if we're doing a true beta, and especially our post-PEPRA. I know we don't have a lot of them right now, but that's going to be our near future. And if I didn't see it in the folder, I know this is the inception of this, the incipient phase, but that would be my comments on it.
My comment on that is we're trying to design a system that streamlines. We're not even someone who's in a class 2 that may be doing duties or outside of their class, they're going to get a full fair evaluation of their claim. But I caution on muddying the waters of the streamlined process by including someone who's outside of this arduous job classification. We haven't made a final decision on that, but that's my first thought when I hear you say that is we're really trying to streamline this process, and how can we take a nice easy scoop that will guarantee that this core group of people, the likelihood of the case being processed in a fast manner to free up space for the rest of the cases. We want those cases. We don't want them, if we start picking and choosing from other classifications, we're really going to muddy up the process and slow it down. And then we won't be streamlining anything. And our hope is too, that by doing this, streamlining these cases where it's fairly obvious that the member has met their burden, that there's more bodies that work on the other cases and pull those along in the process and process them faster.
Okay, that I understand that, because I was going to say, don't we have some longer duration, other, class 2s cases that are hung up too? But that's a great point, and I appreciate you addressing that. So, and yeah, I mean, I like it. I would recommend to the board that we give you the direction to go forward with evaluating the pilot. So if a motion's appropriate, I would make that motion.
There's more questions.
Do we need a motion to?
Well, do you have other questions? I think.
I say we still have other people to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's go next. Mr. Ryu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you very much for this comprehensive and honest report. It was very, very thorough. And I do agree with a lot of the statements that you made, especially the fact that, quality over quantity, because for all the various reasons, we do need to make sure that it's done accurately. And you can only do so much with what you got. And we do not want staff to kind of just do things just to speed things up, right? So, and it is very, and from the reports that we see, I mean, your team does an incredible job. I mean, I think it's very, very thorough. You know, I had a couple of questions though. You said that are you full staff now, or are you still hiring? Or need to hire?
We are, I have some vacancies still, and they're not, it's not because they're not filled, it's because I still do have a couple of specialists at the specialist level. I have a couple folks who are still out on extended leave.
Okay.
Um,
So you're technically full staff, but yeah, okay. And when you say new staff, how many new staff came on?
we had 3 new hires, so folks coming in from the outside, and 4 promotions.
And 4 promotions. And you have well, you have 2 vacancies because they're on sick, but then no other vacancies.
I have other vacancies for the folks who vacated because they were promoted. So I have vacancies at the support level, but we are working and partnering with our HR, and we've just actually kicked off maybe about 2 months to begin recruiting for that support level so we can fill those vacancies as well. The vacancies that we have at the support level are currently being addressed through agency temps.
Okay.
So we have staff working and supporting our process, but I do have vacancies for several support positions.
So would those support level staff be sufficient to help with the backlog, or do you need higher level positions to do the backlog?
Once we get and hire at those vacancy, that particular job, we actually just did a study, and that particular role will be allowed to maintain a small caseload. And so we will also utilize them. Once we hire permanently, we will utilize them to process cases. They'll carry a small caseload and actually continue to do some support staff functions as well. And that also feeds into succession planning, right? Because if they now have the experience in the future of having any future vacancies, that group will actually be what feeds into those vacancies, because now they've been trained and actually have carried a small caseload.
Because it appears your new initiatives are going to take several years to implement anyways. So I would highly recommend, and I would support, if you need additional staff for the next cycle, to request additional staff at either the support level or at a higher level. Because this is going to, I mean, especially from looking at your slide with your inventory analysis, the big backlog is interviewing, report writing, which is no AI could do that interviewing part, right? It just actually takes human capital.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously, if you get AI to do indexing, because I know there's programs that do it, especially for law firms, that'll help free up staff. But irrespective, I mean, you know your division best. So if you need additional staff, I would highly encourage you to apply for those appropriate levels with the CEO. And you know, I think the board will be supportive because, you know, people could only do what they could do. So if there's this huge backlog and you project even more retiring or more applications, then we should try to circumvent that if we can. And then I had one last question. Medical review. That's not your team, right? That's actually. So is the medical the doctor hires for our doctors that do the review? Do you do that? Who does that hiring?
We do it. And in fact, I had something to talk about that and I kind of grazed over it a little bit, but we have a panel of physicians that do the medical reviews for us. There are some challenges in that area as well.
Yeah.
And so what we do, and it's a very specific group of people who have to do this work, right? Because they have to have med legal experience. It can't just be your run of the mill. Well, let's send it to your doctor, the doctor you see, you know, it has to be a very specific type of doctor trained to do these types of analysis. And so some of the challenges that we have with even our panel is physician availability. You know, I have, to your point of how many specialists do I have, I currently am budgeted for 25. I have a couple out on medical leave. So I have a pretty good, robust team of specialists now that, you know, again, we're going to tackle the backlog. But we are fighting against some challenges even within our panel. The more people you have who are processing cases that are getting cases to your panel doctors, that means our doctors are going to start to be taxed. So that is another area that we will be working on to solicit additional doctors. Traditionally, we've gone out and solicited the doctors, but legal and I have been talking about, you know what, maybe we need to start running an RFP that is open year round. And then we have people who are continuing up to apply for the panel, and we can continue to refresh and replenish our panel. The other thing, you know, there's internal competition of the use of our doctors, right? More specialist processing and trying to get the doctors, appointments with the doctors. There's not a lot of room if we're all using the same kind of pool of doctors to get stuff done. So we definitely recognize that we need to expand our pool of doctors, you know, and our doctors also are doctors who they have their own practice. They serve as AMEs, QMEs, IMEs for the workers' comp industry. So that's another battle in terms of competing for resources to have our doctors do these reviews. Most of our doctors are pretty good with getting their reports back in 30 days. We do have a pretty good panel of doctors in varying specialties. But we do see also challenges with our doctors where we have to ask for supplementals. You see the reports, you see where we might have gone and added, you know, maybe 1 supplemental, 2 supplementals. So that's also something that generates more time in our process when we have to go back and ask questions of our panel physicians. So again, we're going to continue to try to onboard additional physicians, get them trained in this, you know, to work with us, to provide, you know, the reports that we need to be able to deliver to your board. So those are some of the things we're also looking into, in addition to the workflow stuff that I discussed earlier.
And I think we mentioned this at a previous meeting, and this goes to Trustee Fessler's comment for earlier. I think we already directed the staff, but we should look at the salary. I mean, the fee for doctors too, because I know that was pretty low too, right? And it's hard enough to get them in the first place. So maybe if we should look at that analysis as well, the increasing their
We recently, how many years ago, we did a fee increase. We're pretty comparable to what the workers' compensation doctors are paid. I'm not sure if we're ready to do another. Is that a problem we have with the doctors complaining about what we're paying them?
No,
Yeah.
we're pretty consistent with what workers' comp. So I think right now the fees are okay. That's not really the issue.
Okay.
It's just really the pool, and the pool is somewhat dwindling. And I think I talked a little bit about this at the offsite. We have these management firms that are coming in and gobbling up folks that do this type of work, and then they're building a panel, and to get to their panel, you have to partner with them, right? So we have a couple of groups, ExamWorks and a company called MMRO, that have kind of done that. So access to these doctors who do this type of work, we have to now go through a management company. So we're trying to figure out how can we partner with them to be able to have access to the panel, but also then stay within our fee schedule, right? Because when you bring in a management company, then I got to worry about, well, how much are they going to charge on top of what a doctor would be expected to pay? And so we're trying to navigate that so we can continue to maintain costs, right? Because if we start partnering with these management companies, that could then increase how much. And we're already probably spending close to $3 million on medical evaluations.
And the management company just does panel doctors?
Well, what they do is they gobble up the doctors who do med legal work, right? So now these
And they
doctors-
specialize in only that? Wow, okay.
It's a big business.
Imagine that. Next we see Ms. Durazo.
Okay, so pretty much everyone already covered what I wanted to comment or question, which is the pilot program, which I'm looking forward to seeing the proposal in the future. I think that's a great option. And then also I was going to suggest what Mr. Rue also mentioned is the hiring of additional staff, even if it's temporary, to take care of the backlog. So that's already been discussed. Maybe one other thing is, just out of curiosity, what is like the dream time frame right now? You said it's about 12 months. So you have your staff, like what do you project that time frame to be in the future?
I mean, I think right now the time frame really probably will stay at.
It'd stay at a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, not all cases take a year, because we do have cases where it depends on the case.
Right.
So for example, we have death cases that we've been able to bring to your board, within 4-6 months. So again, I think that triaging of the case early on actually will help dictate processing times, right? If we do a good job in triaging, then we know that we can process certain cases within a shorter time period, and other cases where we absolutely know that they take longer, and separating it out and coming back and reporting to you, again, we know salary subs say they take 14 months. Well, if they're separated out and we report to you that those are on track, then those are on track, versus of piling it all together and saying all these cases are going to take 12 months when that's not really the reality. And so I think separating and making them more granular based on case type and complexity, and establishing the appropriate timeframes that align with the case type, I think that will be key, and that's what we're looking to do. But on average, we want to get down to at least processing the majority of cases within a 12-month period.
12 months. So that number is not going to change,
I don't
or
think
that
that
time
number
frame is not going to change. It'll still stay a year.
But what we are going to do now that we have Soul and maybe our ability to kind of track things in a better manner, once we get these aging cases out of the way, we want to start really kind of establishing some benchmarks for the different types of cases, and then talk about whether or not that goal of 12 months, does it need to be adjusted based on our benchmarks and the data that we're able to, but we can't, it's harder to benchmark when we have all these aging cases. They're old, they're already old. And so that's one of the issues. So once we can kind of get out from under that, I think we can start doing some really good benchmarking to determine, based on complexity of cases, how long should it really be taking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pintoja.
Thank you for taking the time. And I know we spoke a little bit when I was doing my orientation about this. I just have a question on the pilot project. Once it's completed and you've caught up, will you scale back to the old process, or will you continue to do? So we would keep the expedited.
It's kind of, to use Ms. Caldwell's analysis, it's kind of like having an express lane at the market where through certain cases, 15 and under can go through and move faster. So
we'll keep it and it'll be part of the process.
Okay. But there'll be no self-checkout,
right? No.
That always makes it go longer.
Don't want that. Okay, Ms. Fessler.
Thank you. I have a list here, and a lot of it has been covered at least in some way, but I'm really happy to hear that you're prioritizing things. When I worked for the county council last several years, I was there. I was in charge I oversaw all of the litigation that we handled, including workers' comp, et cetera. And one of the things that became apparent was we were treating all the cases the same way. And we had a bunch of procedures that we required of the people that were handling the lawsuits, but a lot of them didn't need that heavy lifting, and some of them needed a lot more attention. And so the first thing we developed was a priority categorization. And once a case had been put into a certain category, it had its own processes, its own requirements, et cetera. And it's hard with litigation to have a time frame, because you got another side there that is in a court, and everybody else that are not necessarily going to play ball with you, but the same concept. And I think one way to tackle anything that you're doing is to recognize the diversity of the universe that you're working with. And as you start pulling out the freebies, the gimmies, you do then free up resources to put into the ones that are more challenging and demand more time. So I really think that's going to have an amazing impact on not just the pilot project piece of it, but the other pieces as well, that once you start categorizing these things and are able to track, and then you can see, I mean, if you've got your chart here, but if you've got a similar kind of chart, at least for your own internal purposes, of the different categories, you can see where things are getting hung up, and then start focusing on that for that type of case. That's going to make a really, really big difference, I think. And with that in mind, when you are assigning the cases to your staff, is that currently, how do you do it currently, and would you be doing it any differently in terms of the complexity of the cases? Like, will everybody have 20% of the gimmies and, 30% of whatever? Or are you going to break it down by these folks are going to do all this kind and really crank those out? And I'm just curious as to what that plan is.
Well, right now, the cases are assigned randomly. So as they come in, we do the pre-work and they get assigned round robin. That's really what we call it. We do have the ability, so we have two ways of distinguishing case types. So for site cases, we have a bucket that site cases go in, and then all the rest of the population of cases go in, because we want to at least have even distribution of our site cases within that round robin process. Because what we were finding was people were getting back-to-back site cases and exactly. And so we kind of, split those out. But I think in the future, what we're going to also do once we start identifying cases based on complexity, we might have other buckets to ensure more even distribution.
Okay.
I think as we get deeper into it, we might make some decisions as to whether or not we have people who specialize in certain case types and things of that nature. But I think, there's some risk and challenges to that as well in terms of burnout, you losing a skill set because you're kind of focusing on this type of case, that you lose your skill set to process these other cases. So we are aware of those things. I think if we do any kind of specialized processing, those things might be more on a temporary basis. If we see bottlenecks where we can pull people out and, hey, can you just get to these because you're really good at that, right? And then we can put you back into rotation once that's taken care of.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately what we will be trying to do is categorize the cases in a manner and then make sure that they're evenly distributed across the team, so know what investigator is faced with a multitude of cases that are complex.
Right.
That's really, I think, the goal that we're looking to
Okay, good. And the categorization will allow that to be a lot more achievable, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. I just a couple other things. We had a conversation about the medical panel and the availability. I would assume that the pilot project, if it becomes operational, will contribute positively toward the availability of our medical panel, correct? I mean, we won't have to be sending as many cases to them. So that might be an additional benefit to the whole concept. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, the third benefit too is less cost, right?
Right,
If we get
exactly.
to a point where we really can do this successful, you're not spending as much on medical fees. So that feeds into one of our other pillars in terms of fiscal responsibility. So I think that if we do this right, there's a couple advantages in multiple areas. And so that's really what our goal is, my leadership team, my staff, and our partners here in legal. So we're looking at all of that because we really do want to make sure that we're supporting our organization's objectives.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm very impressed with the whole with the evaluation and the recognition that something needed to be reviewed and a plan be developed. And then just one little side comment. My husband represented doctors in malpractice cases for the majority of his career. I am unfortunately personally familiar with how long it takes to review medical records. And so I only wish AI had been around 20 years ago. I might have been able to go on more vacations. I don't know. So I think that's going to have a big impact. And just finally, when you do these education sessions, which are a tremendous idea, I would recommend, just for Mr. Pantoa, I joined the board in March, and I'm only now beginning to understand this stuff. So Don't, and I've asked a million questions and tortured these poor people. So don't be shy. I'm breaking them in for you, but if the portions of our board meetings are all recorded, right? And video is maintained, et cetera. I'd recommend that we, somebody in the IT specialist that knows how to do this, they cut that stuff of those presentations, set them aside and make them available, put them together back to back for not only incoming board members. I mean, when you do the onboarding and stuff, to have those presentations available that that new people can watch on their own when they come in, or any of us, if we want to check that out, sometime in the future or get a refresher or whatever. I think that'd be a fantastic idea, and to develop that kind of library of internal stuff that is available then and as you bring new people on, I mean, you can use it for your own training, legal brings new people on, whatever. It's just a valuable resource that should be maintained and curated so that it's available for future use too.
I love that idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Ms. Lang.
Thank you. I'm going to hurry through before Mr. Robbins gets upset that we're spending too much time on this issue. Not even listening. Okay.
He doesn't get to be upset anymore.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I'm
You're
the guy you
right.
gotta
For
worry
the
about.
chair. Right. Okay. Really quickly, I appreciate the time. The analysis has been so perfect on this. I appreciate the common sense approach. I already told you that previously. I feel like it's this type of analysis and digging into these types of issues that makes a good agency great. I appreciate that we are not looking at shortcuts, but looking at reducing inefficiencies, which by virtue of what we're doing makes things move along faster and more efficiently anyway. And I think everybody else covered everything. I love the idea about the cutting the presentations. I think that's great because a lot of times I have to go back, find where it was, re-listen to it. So that's a great idea. And thank you so much. Appreciate it. Look forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you.
Okay, unless Mr. Robbins wants to chime in. He's the only one who hasn't spoken to myself. Not seeing any indication. I do appreciate the discussion. This was very, very helpful, I think. And don't feel that because you're new, that you're the only person that's going to be learning a bunch, because some of us who have been here a long time hear some of this stuff and go, oh, wow, I may have known that once, but I forgot. And so thank you for reminding us, because there's an awful lot of information here. This is a pretty complex area. And I know understanding the nuances between workers' comp in the retirement system is something we all need to be constantly reminded of, because they sound alike, they use a lot of the same terminology, but they are not the same systems. A lot of people look and say, well, if it was such and such under workers' comp, that must automatically equate to be such and such under the retirement law. And that ain't necessarily so.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for all the comments. Thank you so much for the presentation. That was excellent. With that, we have items B through F under reports, which are all just for information only. Unless anyone has any specific questions they would like to ask, we can move on to items for staff review.
Yeah, I think the only item was from Ms. Fessler was regarding increasing the threshold for the vendor invoices. And I think staff will get back to us on that.
Okay, items for future agenda. Nothing. I think good of the order. When you go around the horseshoe, Mr. Green, we'll let you start.
Happy New Year, everybody.
I like it. Mr. Raja.
Same, happy 2026.
That's good. You know what year it is. That's excellent.
Yeah, it took me a while.
Good start.
I'll be writing it for the next week still, 2025.
I hear you.
So I get used to it.
Only a week?
Yeah.
I know.
Usually take you a couple of
Maybe
months.
a month.
Nothing?
No, just welcome again to Ernesto. It's a pleasure to have you. And anytime you feel overwhelmed, come on over, because I've been looking for somebody else to feel overwhelmed with for a while.
And it's like, guess I should go with Mr. Robbins. Now he's just sidekick here.
I'm good. Happy 26.
Okay, okay. Ms. Langton.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Congratulations to John Grable, who was recognized recently again for, one more amazing thing. Congratulations also to the families that are starting to move back into Altadena. Our gardener's house just got rebuilt and he's moving in this month. So we're really proud of him. He's one of the first ones to move back in. And welcome to Trustee Pantoja, and looking forward to a year of just continuing to do what we do and to bring more commitment and excellence to our agency. Thank you.
That's right.
Happy New Year, everyone. And again, thank you to all the staff for all of your hard work. Congratulations to Mr. Grable. And I want to welcome my good friend, Ernest Pantoja. I'm so happy because I get to actually see him once a month now. We've been talking about getting lunch like I have with Les for the last year. And it's really hard to get together with friends, but I get to now see him once a month.
You mentioned Pantoja.
Happy 2026. I want to thank everybody for being so warm and welcoming. I really am looking forward to this. I think what this organization does is amazing, and how you care for your membership. I work for a local construction union, so I understand exactly how critical this role is, and I'm very grateful. I'm very much looking forward to learning about the organization and how it helps its members. But just off the bat, I have to say, I mean, you guys do tremendous work, phenomenal work, and I wish all the other unions and their pension funds work the same way. But I really am looking forward to learning more from a lot of you, and thank you for welcoming me.
And with that, I'll just echo. Okay. Louis, you're right.
Yep.
Then I'll go.
Okay, thank you, Chair Harris. Again, just wanted to highlight, appreciate the board's engagement and dialogue with Tamara and going over, kind of the great presentation that she and her team put together and some of the solutions with her and the legal team in terms of reducing the processing time. We get a lot of calls from members, and one of the things we talk about, one of our pillars is superior member experience, and 12, 18, 16-month wait time is, that's something that we're going to tackle head on. And I appreciate Tamara's comments in terms of that sense of ownership. With that, and I do appreciate the board's support, but Trustee Rue made a comment, and I think Trustee Durazo, in terms of, I want to assure the board that when we do our budget process and we ask for additional resources, that you absolutely have the confidence that we've done every possible solution internally before we come to the board to ask for additional resources. I think that's what Tamara's highlighted is, I think there's some things internally from a process perspective that we can do to further reduce that process in time. We onboarded a new case management system that gave us a better look at the different aspects of our case management throughout those various milestones. And we've onboarded a new set of team members over the last 4 months. So we want to make sure that before we come to the board to ask for additional resources, that you have the confidence that we've been prudent and vetted every possible option available. So just wanted to make sure I articulated that.
Don't forget about Mr. Moore.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not. And Mr. Moore.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Mr. Pantoja, and hope to see you all in next week if I'm allowed to get out.
And from legal, do you have any go to the order?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Harris. Before we go into closed session, I wanted to make a couple of clarifications regarding the executive session agenda. First, with respect to agenda item 17A1, for the record, that item relates to a report that the board will receive on the status of ongoing negotiations between LACERA and the organization representing LACERA's employees, which is SEIU Local 721, bargaining units 850 and 851. SEIU was not identified on the agenda, should have been, and I wanted to clarify that for the while we're in open session. Secondly, with respect to agenda item 17A2, simply want to clarify again for the record that A2 and A3 relate to updates that are being provided to the board regarding questions that management has received from the county.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess it's my turn. So I just want to thank everyone. Happy New Year. And I want to thank everyone at LACERA for the hard work that you do every day, day in and day out. I also think it'd be remiss of me if I didn't mention that this is the 1-year anniversary of probably one of the most horrific disasters that's ever befallen the United States, and particularly Southern California. And I know it really impacted a ton of people, and it impacted LACERA too. And they were really called upon to do a lot of things that they had to invent ways to address needs of our members. And I really want to thank them for everything they did this last year. I know this disaster it's a moving target. It's still ongoing, and we're still working at recovery. It is nice to know that there are people moving back in, both Pacific Palisades, particularly Altadena. But I just want to recognize how much I appreciate this, what the staff here has done over the last year, because I know it has added an extra level of concern and work for them. And our hearts go out to all the people who were impacted by this. But with that, I'll entertain a motion. I don't need to entertain a motion. We'll go into closed session.